Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus on this bright, wonderful, gorgeous day. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. And I can't think of anything that's more momentous that I can do today than to share some information with you. Information that perhaps would aid in your liberation, in your freedom. And if I can do that, then my day have not been wasted. I have decided to talk to you today on the subject matter. People will believe everything but the truth. You know, I'm a social scientist, and for those of you who kind of got some idea about what social science is, well, I'd like to refer to those who don't. Social science basically has to do with the knowledge and understanding of people, what makes people tick, or what people can do to untick. And you have a balance of understanding because it's not basically restricted to a one group of people, say males or females or Americans, but people all over the globe in certain different situations, perhaps with economics, perhaps with their social order, perhaps with their religion, all of these kinds of things that happens. And that's a wonderful thing if you've been exposed to it. It'll help you to understand life a little bit better. But there is no understanding about life that is equal to the truth. And the truth is found by spirit, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is revealed to anybody that knows the truth. It's been revealed. Now we have an instance where we cater to certain what we call documents like Bible or times like religion and churches as being instruments or something that would guide us into the truth. Many people refer to, in America, to biblical stuff. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that it is a history. It is a recording of things that people have experienced and how they saw it being related to the higher power, the universal God. But at the same time, we have people amongst us who have no concept of the universal God, and they understand that many have. And a book like the Bible, for instance, is not the only one, but like the Bible, for instance, goes through many hands, been touched by many people. And you got all kinds of people. You got liars, you got thieves, you got, you name it, you fill in the blank, and you got it. And you got people using all kinds of causes to what? To manipulate and to deceive people. And these religious books, or whatever you want to call them, they are not untouchable. In fact, they are some of the ones that if you're going to use, get them right away because people pay so much emphasis on it. But as I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. I want you to think for a moment. Please, think for a moment. Think about a God. A God who, in the beginning of time, as it has been inscribed for us to believe, was able to talk to people, to guide people. People trusted God. They believed in God. They responded according to what they had received from God. Now, this happened then. What makes you think that there came a time when God cut off all communication with people and said that the only thing that the future will have in relationship and connection with God is what happened then? That's like a stone wheel being used today on an airplane or 18-wheeler, a stone wheel. Things change. Wheel didn't change. It needed a wheel. How the wheel was made, how the wheel was constructed is the thing that changed. But if those who came up and received the new ideas of stop using stone and never use rubber, where would we be? But the same spirit that gave them the idea to use stone also gave them the idea to use rubber. So if all we have is what somebody said back then and nothing about now, how lost can we be? My attitude is plain and simple. If God can talk to them, he had a reason. So God must be able to talk to me. Must be able to talk to me. And if God can't talk to me, it must be because I'm doing something that denies that reception. I don't want to hear from God. But if I want to, then I am available. And God, if he is God, will speak to me. And if God speaks to me, I don't have to rely on what he said back then. And I look at the people today who will argue you to hell and back about something that somebody said back then that's been touched by all kinds of hands. And I stand before you as a living witness, saying to you what the Spirit of God is telling me to share with you, and you will say, it's too good to be true. You know, that's why I say people will believe anything but accept the truth. Their response to that is, it is too good to be true. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've taken a few notes and I'd like to share them with you if I may. I started off talking about abuse. Now, abuse, I'm not going to tell you what abuse is. You know what abuse is. And everybody that considers abuse, they know it is unacceptable. Now, many people are abused and they think perhaps that the things that they're going through are normal. So they accept it and don't know what to do about it and leave it alone. But as soon as it is discovered that it is abuse, it is required that it stops. For instance, a spouse can be abused. They can be abused by the other spouse. Now, if they loved each other, the love will not stop. You can make abuse without violating love, but if love is stopped, then something is going to happen that's going to be considered as abuse. However, the one who did not cause the abusing is not going to stop loving because abuse came up there. No, abuse cannot deny love. Nothing can deny love. You might have to accept separation. You might have to accept a whole bunch of things. But love will never stop. You have people who are receiving water from city water utilities. And for some strange reason, based upon how that program was designed, how people are trying to save money or whatever, that water can become contaminated, and that water goes to the people. And it is known that this water is contaminated and is going to the people. And people who are receiving the benefits from the water, who are causing this hazard, they are abusing the people. The people don't know it. But once it is discovered, action must be taken to stop that kind of abuse. We cannot allow it to continue. Prices. You can be abused in prices. You got people who got an abundance of money. They can do what they want to do. I used to think about people who go to town, maybe go downtown St. Paul. They want to be down there all day. You got parking meters, and you know what the meters are there for, to get some money to serve the purpose of the city. Some person can go there and park all day, make sure that they can put money in the meters to cover their being there. And if they stay too long, they get a ticket, they can pay it. But some people can't do that. They'll go downtown and they'll put a quarter in the meter or 50 cents, how much is required, and they can't afford to put any more money in the meter. Yet they got more time to be downtown than is required for them to spend downtown. So they end up getting a ticket. They couldn't put the extra quarter or the extra 50 cents in the meter. How are you going to pay the ticket? So are you saying just because you don't have the money, and I guarantee it's not your choice, you don't have the money, you can't stay downtown? What's fair about that? So you can be abused by prices. And when it's discovered, it is the responsibility of those that are being abused to stand up and by the power of righteousness make a voice. And it is supposed to be taken care of. And if it's not taken care of, you just ignore it. Now there's another thing. You got old folks. Old folks get abused often. In nursing homes, you've heard the stories how people can get abused. Maybe some of your relatives have. Hopefully they haven't. But once it is discovered that people are exploiting and taking advantage of old people, They stop that stuff. That's not going to go along. But there's certain things that people will go at to stop, and other things they won't. They go at stopping that abuse from old people, and they'll struggle to stop the abuse of the bad water that's coming into the thing. But when you start talking about that meter, they want their money. You can be abused through taxation. For instance, in St. Paul right now, the governor is talking about infrastructure and what the state needs to become a little bit more representative of the idea of the state of Minnesota. So he wants to increase 20 cents on the price of gas. Now, people who got good money, good bank accounts, they say, okay, well, all right, let me go to the gas tank and fill up and pay the extra 20 cents per gallon. You got people who go to the gas pump and never put more than enough to buy a gallon or a gallon and a half because they got no more money. And now you're going to up the taxes on that gas an extra 20 cents. So now you got some people who can go to the gas tank and only put in a half a gallon of gas. Is that fair? I just ask you. If that's all you can put in your tank when you go to put some gas in a half a gallon, would you think that is fair? And if it is not fair, then how is it considered not abuse? And if it's abuse, it has got to stop. I don't care what kind of potholes it pays to fill. You got wages. You got some people that make anywhere from 100, 500, 1,000, and even more an hour as a wage. These people can do basically anything they want to do if they get that kind of money. Yet you got people working for $5 an hour. $5 an hour. Can these people who work for $5 an hour do what people making $500 or $1,000 an hour? No, they cannot. Now, some of you might say, well, rather than settling for $5 an hour, you might go and prepare yourself, educate yourself so you can make $500 or $1,000 an hour. Let me ask you this. What if everybody thought like that? What if everybody say, well, I want to make $500 or $1,000 an hour, so they went and prepared themselves so that they can make $500 or $1,000 an hour. I ask you, who's going to do all of those other jobs that people used to do for $5 an hour, $6 an hour, $10 an hour? Who's going to do that? And since these people have qualified themselves to make $5 an hour, $500 an hour, or $1,000 an hour, then they will require that you pay them $500 or $1,000 an hour for digging a ditch, for working in the toilet, cleaning toilets. Why? Because they've qualified themselves, and in order for it to be fair, then they must be paid equally. And what is it that says that a standard should be high for some where they can access whatever they desire and others have to crawl? Well, something tells me that there is abuse there, and such as this should be stopped, should not be allowed to happen. Now let's move on to another level of abuse. Let's talk about this religion, and let's talk about the church, how it can abuse people. And you know it can abuse people. You got, first of all, you got different ideologies about different types of churches. You got the way, excuse me. And I want to, the thing that brought me to this point, I heard some guy talking this morning about planting a seed. And he was telling these people, plant your seed so God can open up the window and pour you out a blessing that there will not be room enough to contain. Get your card and maybe go borrow and pay this $1,000 seed, and God going to open up this window. I'm thinking to myself, a seed, I can see you using a seed, planting the ground if you want to get some flowers. I can see you using a seed if you want to get some vegetables. I can see you using a seed if you want to get some fruit. I can see you using a seed if you want to get some nuts. I can see you using a seed if you want to get some grass. I can see you planting a seed for things like this. But treatment of people through economics and social and religious order does not require, my friend, money. How in the world can you, my friends, who can afford to pay $1,000 that you want to call that a seed, give it to a church organization, and God is going to open up a window and just give you so much that your bond's going to overflow like the 1%ers. And those who got nothing, who can't give anything, God ain't opening up a window giving them a thing. What kind of God is that? That sounds like the devil to me. And I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody in the book says. The Spirit tells me that that is a devil, and anybody who falls trip to it is a fool. Now, but that's the way it works. You got people, look at these different churches you got. You got the Catholicism. Well, first of all, let's think about what people really yield themselves to. They yield themselves to listening to kings. They bend down and follow the dictates of queens and popes and presidents and republics and democracies and communism and socialism and dictators. All of these different things, even in the churches, you got the Catholicism, you got Protestantism, you got Confucianism, you got Judaism, you got Buddhism, you got all of these different things, and they all differ. But they all refer to a certain kind of power that you would think is the same kind of power, and yet they end up with the same outcome. And what is that? You got some that's doing all right, and you got the rest of them that's losing. So what does that tell me? I don't know what it tells you. It tells me that people are being lied to. Lied to. And you know why it tells me that people are being lied to? Because the God of the universe that expresses truth does not work that way. The God of truth, it works for everybody. And if things aren't working for everybody, it is not of God. I do not care what you say. I don't care what book is coming out of it. It is a bald-faced lie. The God that I serve says that you, the people, is his creation. You, the people, are his children. And I don't know one decent family that would have one child and treat them one kind of way and take them and treat another one a different kind of way, as if one is important and the other one isn't. And if a family and a parent won't do that to their children, how in the world can a creator God do that to the human race? And anybody that says otherwise is a bald-faced lie. Now, if there's going to be a seed that's going to be planted in relationship to truth, I'm not talking about the flowers and the grass and the fruits and the seed. It is, my friend, the seed of compassion, the seed of love, the seed of mercy. And what is the nutrient that works it real well? It is understanding that you do unto others as you have others to do unto you. It would allow you to express yourself in such a way that everybody, my friend, engages in the process. I don't care if they're laying in the bed, can't move, can't do it, but open their eyes. There's something that they want to do, and it is a result of them opening up their eyes. So let them engage in opening up their eyes to participate in the process. And by so doing, everything that they need, everything that they want, everything that they desire should be accessible to them. So says the God of creation. You hear me? So said the God of creation. Now that dude kind of got me going this morning. I'm sitting because a lot of people go to church. A lot of people say they love God. They're not playing games. They just don't know any better. They just been buying into all this old kind of crap. And none of it is working. They'll tell you to come in and give that seed, that $1,000 seed. And what is it for? It's for you to have a window open. There was a time when people did not have access to all of these kinds of things. Some people lived in areas where there are certain things that they could produce and they can create an abundance. And there were people in certain areas who couldn't really do anything as far as producing food, whether it had to do with plants or cattle or anything. But there were certain things they could do. Perhaps they could work in some of the fields. They could do things to aid in the process. And so when the harvest came, they would give a percentage of what they had to go to the storehouses. So those people who could not create their own foods would have access to be able to eat and enjoy life for those things that they couldn't produce themselves, just like anybody else. It wasn't, and what would it do? I mean, what would it actually do for somebody to come back and say, I gave $1,000 and God gave me $1 million back? And somebody that's over here couldn't give but $1, or couldn't give $1 because they need to pay at least 75 cents on the gas to pay that $1. And then God sent them back home with nothing. That sounds like democracy. That sounds like capitalism. That sounds like a pit from the, what you call it, a nut from the pit of hell. So why am I saying these things to you, ladies and gentlemen? This is why I'm saying these things to you. It's because I have been foolish. Several times I gave up my life. I just gave it up. That wasn't my intent. I just gave it up. Just to share with you a couple of them. One time, my pride wanted me to be a swimmer, like big people who I'd seen swim. I've never been doing any swimming. I've been in a mud hole trying to dog paddle. So one day I decided I want to be a swimmer, like all of the other people who could swim. But I didn't want to go out there trying to swim with them because I know if I couldn't do it, they would laugh at me. So I chose a moment when nobody was out there that could swim. And I committed myself to go swimming across the lake, starting off dog paddling. And I got to a certain distance out there, ladies and gentlemen, where I say, I don't care what you say, I'm telling you what I say, that the God of love used a snake, a water moccasin in that lake to chase my tail out of that lake. Now, I found out when that snake got behind me that I could swim. And I could swim mighty fast. Because I ran the snake. But I don't think truly I ran that snake. I think that snake's responsibility was to make sure I got out of that water. Because you know what? I got out of that water. And I never went back to that lake again. That was me throwing myself away. How many people have gotten drowned? I was destined to drown. I didn't know it because I said I couldn't drown. I said I would be able to do what I wanted to do. So, wisdom, spirit, alerts me that it was because of another power that I was able to get out of that lake. Let me give you another instance. I was in the fields one day down in Mississippi chopping cotton. You'd have been in Mississippi. Many of you might have heard of that place before. And I'm working in this here field, not thinking about anything except maybe dreaming about one day I would be somebody important. I would be able to enjoy life. I would be able to be like the people I had seen in Life magazines and Ebony magazine. And all of a sudden I froze. I couldn't move. And I just stood there. And it seemed as if a little bit more comfort was about to come over me. So I decided to proceed in what I was doing. And at that moment, something snatched that working utensil out of my hand, turned me around. I didn't say I turned around on my own. It turned me around and sent me running as fast as I possibly could. I didn't know why. I couldn't stop myself. I didn't decide to do this. It happened spontaneously. And having reached a certain distance that I felt comfortable, I went back to investigate and see what it was that caused me to go through the changes that I went through. And right there where I was standing, ladies and gentlemen, there was another snake in the cotton fields, a cotton moccasin, up in the cotton, right between, the next step I made would have been right between my legs. I didn't know that. There were many people in the field. They didn't know that. Men, women, they didn't know that. Young and old, they didn't know that. I didn't know that. But there was something that knew that. And something that guided its response to it in such a way that it protected me. I call that spirit. That same spirit that got me out of that lake. That same spirit that worked on me right there and then is the spirit that has been guiding me. Now let me tell you one last time. I took a vow with a woman. And I said I loved her and I would stay with her through thick and thin, through sickness and poverty. There was no sickness that she could have attained that would have sent me running astray. There was no poverty that we could have ever gone through that would have sent me running astray. But one day, I recognized that this power that loved me did it for a reason. Why did it do that for me when so many other people had not received that kind of blessing? And that spirit informed me that I was chosen to be a representative of that love. And so the aspirations that I had of being somebody getting over the best way I can, using my wit to outsmart people. You know the story about dog eat dog? To make sure I was the dog in the pasture that could run my life. And I had to face that. I had to face who I really was. I was an individual, but I was not the power of God. But I recognized that I existed because of the power of God. And because I continued to exist, I had a responsibility. I had an obligation to represent that God to those who had not received what I had received. Much was given to me, and much was required of me. So I made the decision to serve God. And as soon as I decided to do that, that other person that took that same vow as I did reneged on it and said I didn't qualify for her no more. Why? Because the lack of prosperity, which she said would never separate us, separated us. And she didn't want to have anything to do with it. That hurt, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you something. That really hurt it because you trusted. You know, you don't trust everybody. But here's somebody you trust because they took a vow with you. So I'm thinking now, this lady is so interested in money and not me. Till at the time they had a hostage takeover in Iran. And there was going to be a retaliation, I'm sure, by the United States. I joined the military for one reason. I requested, and I'm talking to you, ladies and gentlemen, you listen to me. I requested to have duty in the Persian Gulf so that if the war broke out, I could probably lose my life. Because, you know, you lose your life in the military, they got a piece of death money. You know, death money, a little check for you losing your life. I could give it to that woman who had put more faith and trust in money and more love for money than she had me. So I wanted to know she can have that money. I was throwing my life away. But you know what? That same love, that same God saw me and would not allow me to be killed. And what do I see out of that? Even more of an expression of how God needs me. And having lived all of these years since then, and seen the dirty, hard, low-down, ignorant foolishness of people against one another, I understand why he used me. I understand why he calls me. You don't find people out there who commit their lives to God to make sure that what God really is, that people will know that he is love, that they will know that they're caught by some liar, that they're living the life program by a liar. How many people will say, I will give up my life to tell you the truth? How many do you know? But I was giving back my life to tell you that you have been deceived by Satan. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not lifting up God and glorifying God in such a way that the pain and suffering that humanity has portrayed upon itself, then you are working for the devil, and I don't care what you think about me. I'm not supposed to be here anyway. Somebody say, you are more important. You deserve more. And then they use that in you to lie and deceive other people. And in 2016 up to 2019, God has exhibited right before your eyes. You got in the White House an agent of Satan lying before your face. Don't give a darn about anybody before your face. And you say, I don't care. You got Republicans saying, we know he's a liar, but we want him anyway. You got Democrats trying to think that they need somebody who can outsmart this dog to be a bigger dog, that this is going to give them a chance. Don't they know they played a part in allowing this dog to get here? And I'm standing before you telling you there's one way for peace and freedom and prosperity and joy of life and for the fulfillment of your dreams, and that's God's way. And what way is that? recognizing that all of the resources necessary and essential for any goods and services that is required to give you life has already been embedded within the earth, or on the earth, or above the earth, seen and unseen. And the gifts and talents to be able to identify, extract, and use to manifest have been put in people so that you can be the instrument of your own heaven. And you walking around here saying what I just said is too good to be true. It got to be a lie. Yeah, people will believe anything but the truth. I don't think I have to go any further on that. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And having said that, I want to say once again, this is Eddie Marcus. Bye-bye.